It's good to see people finally respecting My Hero Academia again. The most recent season of the anime might be the best one in the whole series. A lot of cool stuff happened in My Hero Season 7 for almost everyone, including Dabi, who's rocking a fresh new white fit, might I add. But before I talk about Dabi in the most recent season, I want to talk about his role in the story before that, because without even looking back on it, I never liked what Dabi's reveal as Endeavor's son did to Endeavor's character and his redemption arc. Just to clarify, I think the way Dabi did the reveal was great. It tied into the main plot well and also gave his character another layer of interest, all while throwing his family into torment, which is what he's wanted this whole time. Just look at Endeavor. He's shook. He is not gonna be okay. It wasn't surprising to learn that Dabi was Toya Todoroki because anime and subtlety don't like to be said in the same sentence very often. Nonetheless, Dabi's dance in his reveal was done well, but after the initial reveal, we find out more about Dabi's origin, and it's complicated. This season, we saw a flashback of the Todoroki family that put into question how bad Endeavor really was. So before we get into the new flashback, let's ask ourselves, what did we know about the Todorokis? Shoto tells Deku that his birth is the result of a quirk marriage, and that Endeavor used his money and status as the #2 hero to pressure his mom's family into making that marriage happen. Shoto only exists because Endeavor wanted a child with his and Rei's joint power, so that kid could be strong enough to surpass All Might. Endeavor's ultimate ambition. Side note, I understand wanting to be #1 and surpassing All Might, but if your kid surpasses All Might, is that really gonna feel like you accomplished anything? I get parents feeling like their kids' accomplishments are also theirs because they guided their kid, they raised them, but All Might is old. Unless Shoto surpasses him as a teenager, then he's not beating All Might at his prime. Endeavor probably like, ah yes, my 24-year-old child is a better hero than All Might who is pushing 70. Truly, I have finally bested him. Anyway, Endeavor isolated Shoto from his other siblings to only focus on hero training. He beat him at 5 years old as training. And when Shoto's mom, Rei, tried to intervene, he beat her ass too.
He's only 5 years old.
You can take it. Get out of my way.
Hey chat, is it woke to say you shouldn't beat your kids? Shoto overheard his mother saying that seeing him and his siblings is starting to remind her too much of Endeavor and she can't take it all. Then she poured boiling water on his face, which is still crazy to me considering how much love she has shown for this child. Rei probably thought, I hate Endeavor and I'm not gonna attack him. He'll probably beat my ass again. So I'll attack Shoto instead, because what's he gonna do about it? Sadly for her, Endeavor beat her ass anyway and hospitalized her because of what she did to Shoto. And Shoto blames Endeavor's abuse for all of this and truly starts to hate his dad. Every time we see Endeavor and Shoto interact, it's always about Endeavor wanting to train Shoto to use fire and become the best hero. After All Might retires and made Endeavor the #1 hero by default, he feels empty and starts trying to fix his family and give his other kids attention as well, realizing he was wrong in how he treated them all those years. This is the story we've known for a long time. The flashbacks of the Todoroki shown to us in the Paranormal Liberation War show us more of their messed up family dynamic than we saw with their original reveal. Right before the flashbacks is when we get the reveal that Dabi was the eldest son of the Todoroki family they thought to have been dead. We see that even though Toya didn't have the desired quirk, Endeavor still liked training him and thought he could surpass All Might. And Rei wanted multiple kids so Toya wouldn't be alone, meaning they could still try for a kid with a fire and ice quirk. But sadly, Toya's fire was too intense for him to use without burning himself, and the doctor said he couldn't be a pro hero because of it. So Endeavor stopped training Toya and explained to him that his quirk is bad for his health and that he had to give up on his ambition of being a hero. Toya did not accept that. He kept secretly training his quirk, burning himself all along for years. Endeavor and Rei didn't know what to do to get him to stop because it's hard to get a kid to give up on a dream, especially when you're the one that gave them that dream in the first place. After Shoto's birth, Toya felt extremely jealous because Shoto was the child his father always wanted to have, and in a fit of rage of still being rejected by his father when he said he still wanted to be a hero, and his father said no, he attacks baby Shoto, which caused Endeavor to start isolating Shoto from his siblings. Endeavor only focused on training Shoto. He told Rei to handle Toya, but she didn't know how to, and when he found out Rei didn't stop him from training, he beat her in front of Shoto and the other kids. Toya's siblings over the years tried to talk to him about giving up being a hero because of his health, but he wouldn't hear any of it. And eventually when Toya was training himself, he couldn't turn off his quirk, resulting in what they thought was his death. As questionable as the ethics of this arranged quirk marriage were, there didn't seem to be any major issues in the Todoroki family until Toya wouldn't let go of not being able to be a hero. I think Endeavor looks like a better person in these flashbacks than the ones we saw in season 2. As much as we were told that Endeavor only cared about Shoto because of his quirk, he's shown to have genuine care for Toya in spite of that. And it's not all just tied to because he thought Toya could surpass All Might. Even after that, you can see he's genuinely concerned that Toya is still burning himself. He cares about this kid. We also saw that Endeavor only started isolating Shoto from his siblings after after Toya tried to kill him. Wasn't just to focus on his training like it was originally stated. And finally, Endeavor's abuse, even though it's wrong, abuse is still wrong. I'm not saying that it isn't. Still comes from a place of caring about Toya, at least when we see him hit Rei in these flashbacks. Cause he hit Rei out of frustration that she didn't protect him. Going back to Raisin though, even when she pours the hot water on Shoto, an image of Toya is in her head, not just Endeavor. This is messy because it paints Endeavor as a person who isn't entirely good or entirely bad. This would make more people interesting characters, and it still does make Endeavor interesting. But Endeavor was on the latter half of a redemption arc at this point in the series. This puts too much blame on Toya for Endeavor's bad behavior and offers justifications even. Although Endeavor still has clear bad aspects and is at fault for what has happened with his family, these flashbacks show that a lot of what happened wasn't entirely his fault. Endeavor's redemption wasn't over because he hadn't gotten his family to accept him, and they were still separated. But from a character standpoint, his arc was done. As much blame as I think Horikoshi has tried to shift to Dabi for Endeavor's behavior like the Shoto isolation and wife beating, Endeavor was still shown in season 2 to be abusive for no logical reason. What caused Endeavor's cheery training with Toya to turn into such violence with Shoto? We don't really know, and I wouldn't have asked this question if it wasn't shown to me how pleasant Toya's training was as a kid. If the issue was that Shoto wasn't as skilled as Toya and Endeavor doubted that Shoto could surpass All Might, I could see his frustration manifest in more abusive training to push Shoto, but we're never shown that. Moving on to Toya, he's just a bad kid. I don't think his parents or his family failed him that much. I think he's at fault. Even though Endeavor gave up on him, he tried for years to get him to stop training, but he wouldn't. Rei thought Endeavor needed to still spend time with him to show him that he cared, but Endeavor didn't believe it would matter, and maybe that's on him. Rei tried to get him to stop as well, focus on making friends, playing with his siblings, but then he hit her with a sexist ass rant, and she didn't really know what to do, to be honest. By the way, Toya is really sexist. Genuinely, even from being a kid, he just says really sexist things about women randomly.
It was stupid to think you'd get it. No girl would understand this. You agree, right? Besides, the women in our family are all useless. Shut up, Mom, you don't know anything. This from one of your self-help books or something? I know Grandma and Grandpa were poor, that's why they sold you.
It took getting ghosted by my 50th girl to become even half as sexist as Toya was at age 12. Honestly, I'm impressed. So seeing the whole Todoroki family come out of the woodwork and tell Endeavor it's not your fault, it's the whole family's fault is absurd to me. Mainly it's Toya's fault, honestly, then Endeavor's, and Rei gets blame as well for what she did to Shoto. But why are the kids taking any blame at all? Y'all were children! You're not at fault for not doing anything. Natsu tried to take blame by saying if only he looked out for Toya more, this would never have happened. Broski, he's your big brother! He should have been looking out for you! I don't think Dabi's reveal does anything significant in showcasing how bad Endeavor really was, and it humanizes him in a bad way. Endeavor is a character that at this point of the story we are supposed to like, but that comes from disliking him in the past. By showing him being more likable in the past that we originally disliked him for, and that he dislikes himself for, it robs us of part of the satisfaction of his redemption, since he's not being redeemed as far as we thought he was, while at the same time never fully showing us why he was as uncaring and violent at times. I just think that if we're gonna do a redemption arc, it's a lot better if we're clear with the messaging, and I think the messaging got muddied by how much blame Toya takes in all that happened to the Todoroki family. My complaints, they only really apply to Dabi's reveal and the Toya origin flashbacks. Later in the story, I can see what happens with his character in season 7 and beyond, and if that makes the narrative that was thrust upon us in season 6 warranted. And if you're thinking season 7's already out, I haven't seen it. Look, I was going to, but then I wanted to make this video first, and then that took forever. So maybe every issue I'm saying now is addressed in season 7. I don't really know. I'll find out soon. All I know is that where we left this in season 6, I'm not the biggest fan of this storyline. I have more of my hero and anime videos here, so click if you want to watch. I'm Lee T. Simba, and you should subscribe because anime. I'm trying out a new closer, so yeah, that's what we're going with. You should subscribe because anime.